Jing will feel like a lot of physical stress, a lack of capacity to adapt to physical stress and resolve physical stress, a lot of real built-in fatigue. If you're just kind of getting to the end of the day and it's hard to adjust from work to home, it's like a little lack of capacity to change the way you're thinking, and it's a little bit frustrating and your emotions come up again. You're not exhausted. That's not Jing, that's Qi deficiency. That's a different type of fatigue. And so there's like a Qi tonic is really, really lovely there. And it doesn't matter really which you take. They'll all work in the right direction because they're all working on your body. But Jing's when you're exhausted and you're really having a hard time even feeling like you've got even the potential to get up and energize yourself. So it'll feel really restorative. The Qi tonics, the Qi blend, you feel it really does work on the digestion and distension and any bloating and increasing that strength.
You are listening to the Circle of Life podcast, where conversations on life, healing, and the human experience walk us home over and over again. I am your host, Ellen, and this is a home for the healing, a place for curious minds, big hearts, and a different kind of conversation. The Circle of Life podcast serves to invoke the deepest parts of you and remind you that you are your greatest resource. If you, like me, value depth, raw conversations, and a good old-fashioned dose of heart-to-heart medicine, this space is especially akin to you. Together, we'll remember the capacity of our human spirit and what it means to be healing, whole, and a part of this extraordinary circle of life. I hope you find as much medicine and resonance in the words and stories shared as I do in bringing them to you. It's truly such an honor to have you here. G'day and welcome.
Honestly, so secondary to all of the beautiful work that I do in my world, women and human beings tend to just sort of creep into my little pocket of the world purely to find like genuine resources to support themselves in their lives, with their health, with their vitality, with their overall well-being, with their life force. And more often than not, I am referring the people that come onto this podcast so that I have a bridge for them to start to, enter that world for themselves and connect the dots and start to go on a little journey and experience within themselves to see, exactly what it is that I'm, talking about when I'm starting to refer them to, herbal tonics and, these other means and methods and ways that can be super supportive for them. So this is, as I said, super exciting for me. And yeah, I'm really, really honored to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Great.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm really big on story. I really think that how we start something really is so deeply ingrained in how it goes and how it's built and how it's felt and experienced by people who are engaging with it. And I just love to hear about where this all started for you, where it was seeded, where the idea came from to build this beautiful world of Superfeast, of herbalism, of, I know you're into Chinese medicine and Taoism, and these are, I sense worlds in and of themselves, but where did it all start for you? Where is the origin of all of this? What's the story?
Okay, so we're off and running, recording. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We're on our way. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I like this conversation in business a lot, and like a lot of founders, I like the origin story and the source of the little organization I have, and the world that it's building. And I'm talking about it a lot at the moment, talking to a couple of other founders who I kind of like, I kind of like call them like fellow trippers, like myself. Is something I'm really passionate about, is like trippers running companies, and not hitting that glass ceiling as we do and be like, well, I can't do this and I need to not be refined. I'm not refined, well, refined, but I need to not be confined. I need to be free. And the as the business world reality encroaches, we reject. And
Yep.
but nonetheless, we're the ones who have the capacity to not be talking metaphorically about these forces that we're birthing within organizations, within idea, and then constructing a slow, methodical, sometimes spontaneously evolving manifestation of an organization that takes an idea and then delivers it into the world. A lot of people within the business, what I did business at university, and naturally, and I don't think wrongly, there's like something has been just constructed within the physical and it has no connection to roots or lineage of ideas that birthed it in the first place. It got cut off from the roots and then it's gone on with a very utilitarian function, which I think is also necessary to an extent. But I that what a lot of people just go, oh, you're talking about like corporate DNA or, the founder's story or like the brand origin story. And so often by corporate or someone who's just trained in traditional business or even just someone who's just learned about business and organizations from just from the zeitgeist of the culture, like the from the media
Mm-hmm.
is it just like, oh, that's like a nice thing, and then the reality of like, operations and but like, and what guides us, well, there's another thing that guides us. We have this vague purpose statement, but we're guided also by the stakeholders, the employees and the shareholders and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but my origin story is it's in my core physical asset and onboarding document isn't just the story, but it's like I kind of like when the lightning moments that if I had to go back and do this in retrospect because I was like I really became really unhappy and I was the canary in the coal mine of my own organization. I became really dysregulated in my own business, and I was like, oh my God. But I'm a stubborn mule, and then I'm like I can't stop. I want to eject. I would love to just be able to sell it or dissolve it and be free,
Yeah.
but I've got obligations. I was like, I've kind of also had the it's like a cosmic giggle, somewhat of a gift. And, like if my mum didn't have an aneurysm, I would never have done this because I'm more than happy. I'm more than able to generate cash for myself. And
Yeah.
now that my family's getting a bit bigger, it's like a little bit different. I'm like, oh no, it's nice, to be able to leave a little bit of a legacy, but I've got, a woman there that needs like 24-hour care. And so that in the early days was enough to spur me on and keep me going.
Got you. Yeah.
And then so I was in it. It's like, well, if you don't like it, just sell it and leave it. This is the reality of business. The things that people say to
Mm,
founders who are, like, visionary founders, but I don't like trippers, like people who are, who nothing is more important than, that personal cultivation or going with the, whether it's flow with the Dow or just being a Peter Pan or a Wendy, or whatever it is, like there's just something different about that archetype. We're not special or different, where there's like we'll lead with like a heart perception rather than an intellectual playbook. Both are really great and necessary. Um, so with all of that going on, I was like, I went back and I was like, I keep on talking about these moments that occurred when I leave the business a little bit and I come back in and strategy and operations and have gone in a direction that doesn't quite hum. And they're like, well, Mace, we're not you. We had to make decisions. And I was like, and that really bugged me for a long time. Like the whole like Tim Cook comes in to Apple, they lose jobs, and all of a sudden the essence of Apple goes, and everyone goes, well, that's just what happens. And I'm just like that. I mean, I'm very emotive in this. That really disgusts me that
mm,
there was no model for making that not the case, and also giving, not that
yeah.
I blame the human, I blame, our we're just not there yet in the system development and the lexicon, which is I'm not actually projecting anyone, I'm just projecting. I'm a manifestor in human design. I look at what
Mm,
I want to reject and what disgusts me, and I go into it and I go, let's build around
yep.
that. So I find it really exciting and don't actually
Yeah.
have like emotion towards people or systems about it. It's not like um and so I that's kind of what drove me, I kind of like was like then I was like, looking at like Buckminster Fuller's ideas of like source idea of projects and things like that. But and then like founding like Holacracy and reinventing organization kind of books that treat organizational structures like an organism. But still, it took me a while to put it together that I needed to go and do a source idea for an organization. People might think like, yeah, this is the brand story. This is this and this. But no, like the cathartic process when you go back into the story. So for me, when I was 14, and I'd bring this up when I was trying to bring the team back into like what the essence of Superfeast is versus what their interpretation is, which I
Yeah.
have no interest. It's like with my child. I got a 3-year-old, right? Do I let the full intentions of his his family daycare teacher override what I
Mm.
understand is the essence of him and where he came from? Of course not. That'd be silly. So when team members come in, and this is what happens to Tripper founders in the early days. They're like, "Oh, you're so much better than me." Come in, and they're like, "Oh, I've got a playbook, and I'm going to use all my executive skills." And it steamrolls over this
Got
invisible
you.
thing we call
Yeah.
like an essence. Or I'm working with a charity trying to create a birth hospital. It's a birth imprint for them. This gooey birthing seed. And so for me, I would find myself going back and being like, "You don't understand." Like there was a lightning for me that I think is relevant to Superfeast. I was 14 and I heard these. I was on the way. I was on the bus. I was reading Harry Potter. I was like watching Hook a lot. I was like Peter Pan, like escapism, magic. And then these statistics came on. This guy was just reading out statistics, like like a weather report. Not even like a Grant Denyer good weather report reader, like a boring ABC weather report, kind of like dry monotone about like one in three men are going to get 1 in 3 women get cancer. 1 in 2 men will get cancer. Um, 1 in 2 men will get heart disease. And I was like wanting escapism on the way to shitty grey day, on the way to a fucking Catholic school day again in this stupid uniform that I hated and the big shoes that I hated. And I was like, I really want, I hope this isn't it. So there was like that's kind of like in that spark of want for more classic hero's journey kind of like thing, because hero's journey is just the reality of and but really baked into this like, oh my god, like I just gotta like hope that my family doesn't get diseased, um
Mm.
or I just gotta be like, oh whatever, every people around you will just get cancer, whoopsie doodle. And I was like that, I gotta cross my fingers. So that was the first lightning moment. Then I was like 23, I was in Bolivia. And then I just had a moment where I dropped into my body and I was at this fork in the road really quickly. It was like a bunch of things going on in my body, traveling for like 6 months at that point. And it was like, you're either going to go down this disengaged direction, and that is going to be the crossing fingers of disease, or you're going to engage. And that, now there's a lot more emotion around that. So this is in it's called my source essence of Superfeast. And then that's captured within the classic, which is kind of our energetic constitution, but very rule-based constitution about how you operate within Superfeast. I'm just kind of giving you that story because everything arises from that. Our entire my virtues, the values arise from it. Our purpose statement arise directly to take these 6 chambers. Then the next one was when I was in, we call it the tooling up, the tooling up pillar, which is when I was at university a couple of years later, and I was like, oh my God, this is just the worst. What I was hearing from like that was in some stupid marketing bullshit.
Mm.
And then I had a book with me that I just bought randomly because I'd heard about tonic herbalism and mushrooms when I was on my engaged journey. And so I started reading Ron Teagarden's book and reading about the 3 treasures. And I was like, oh my God, all the herbalism that I wanted to get into was all about symptoms, Western herbalism symptoms,
Yeah.
Modern Chinese medicine, all like symptoms and patterns and expelling. And I'm just like, I don't have anything that I'm really worried about. I just want to aspire and I just want to
Yeah.
see what's possible. And that's what immortality kind of meant to me is it's just been on that path of looking ahead, grounding the past, integrating, and then seeing how good it gets. And I was reading this book and I was like, fuck, this is like 3 treasures, Jing Qi Shen. We take herbs to support and refine these biological and kinetic and then subtle spiritual, psychological combinations within our
Mm.
body. There's 3 buckets of treasure that if you hold them together, we don't know what happens after this life, but at least we know that's taking you in a good direction for your development to at least not be an asshole. So then I was reading that and I read about the mushrooms, Stephen Hobbs' Medicinal Mushrooms book, and I was like, far out, these are like, and then that now, so I felt tooled up. I had my systems. Then the fourth pillar is when I was walking out of university and I turned around and I just spat venom at it. And I was like, you have no idea what you did letting me into you. Institutions like you disgust me. I'm going to take the rot from you and I will absolutely decompose it. And you won't be commodifying people anymore. You won't be commodifying people's health anymore and so on and so
Mm.
forth. And so I went down that like go to war. Then the next the fifth pillar was one about the Superfeast came through really clearly and was like creating superhumans. It was just a time stopped lightning bolt moment. Superfeast was like that's what we're doing, creating superhumans, which has a whole definition. I can't stand the tagline, but every time I try and take it out, things go awry in Superfeast. Is the difference between I'm stewarding something.
Yes.
And that's where we go into real coaching, and that holds my team accountable. That you can't just stay in those early pillars of content and education and product creation and strategy as
Mm.
well. Like you can't just stay in those fringes of like, how good, like, come on, you can do better. And like, Raji Baji
Mm.
marketing, you're accountable to go into like, get people like deep on the path of
Yeah.
cultivation. And that's like where, brands crave cultism, but because that's where I've always started from. And I was like, I'm not going to talk to you unless like the superhuman is the surface. And I'm like, let's come back down to reality and talk about what it really is to be like really starting to refine and not just taking mushrooms. And now let's see where that opens you up to. And it's like almost that's too complex for people. They don't understand it. That's that world. And then the final world is heart perception led sensory. What we're trying to get is people to sense their own path. This is
Yeah.
Stephen Buhner's work, the herbs talking you about, we're creating a kinship with the herbs so they teach you how to perceive reality and non-linear and comprehension. So that bakes into Superfeast. That's to a point where I was reading like Holacracy and Reinventing Organization. I was like an ecosystem led organization that's integrated all aspects of
Yeah.
organization will be the only way forward. Likewise, we're in a holism led. And so at that point, you can ground in that, yes, I'm going to go and destroy with utter might aspects of institution, but then realizing as that happens, as we reach into them, they're reaching into us and they're going to destroy a naivety in us at the same time and been really conscientious of the dance, the cosmic dance. We're all just doing the best here. Like we're all going to like go in a war with each other. There's like roles and karma, but like whatever. We don't know what's going on here. We're not really against each other. They're the six pillars of Superfeast, and that's the founding stories of where the brand came from and everything that we do. I love it, and it's also the bane of my existence. Grounding that in
Yeah.
the system and process, so that, and then even with the board I've got coming up, I've got a page of, um, um, I guess like qualitative KPIs, and like I want to see where you're turning the volume up in each of those intentions. And that's the intention. These are the terrains in which the birth of an organization occurred. And you can sit in that terrain and sense it. And it is a real sensory thing. And I've got trainings there for everybody to drag them into it. And then they can taste it and feel it. And I'm like, I love you as a human. I don't pay for you. I pay for a little bit of your playbook to come in as long as it fits that intent and the ideas that emerge from that terrain and then ram them into the market. And I find it very difficult. Maybe other people don't, but yeah, that's kind of like everything that's the brand story at the moment.
Yeah. Wow. What I'm hearing is there is just so much experience and intricacy that has been woven into, I think you called them the six pillars,
Yeah.
and it sounds to me like you've lived, breathed, walked, you know, every angle, flavor of each of those. And that's felt, when you engage with the medicine of your products, with the medicinal mushrooms, with the tonics, with the herbs. Like I know for me, that's something that just I feel like it's a felt experience when I'm engaging with a company or a product. Like I can feel that it's embodied. I can feel the integrity. I can feel that it's truly integrated. And that, I think for me, actually has just so much, that really has so much value. And it makes the experience of using those products, like it adds something to it, right? Like it
Hmm.
really does add something to it. And so, you know, I thought it might be nice as well for me just to set the stage. The community who will predominantly be tuning in to this, this podcast episode, my community, predominantly women who don't necessarily have like quite an advanced tongue when it comes to these sort of, I don't know, these these medicines, right? But they are women who are so interested. And I think this is something that you sort of spoke to before, which I loved. I remember just sort of getting these goosebumps. Was you mentioned you were sort of just like, do I just wait to get sick? Do I just wait to like cross my fingers and just hope that I don't get cancer? And it's like that. I feel right now, especially within my community, and obviously this is what I see the most of, is this desire to break free from that experience of like,
Mm.
do I just wait? Like, do I just wait until something goes wrong? Do I just wait until I get sick, right? Like what can I be doing now to support myself, my vitality, my energy, my field to to prevent or to enhance longevity and health and well-being and vitality? And
Mm.
that's what I
Yeah, and
like
learn what works and learn what doesn't work, and
exactly.
become really grounded in the application of what prevention means to us, and integrating the fear or that comes from like I'm going to prevent because of the fear, which is super valid, and and having working with medicines or systems that are slippery enough to not pull you in and make you attribute all the
Yep.
benefits that you're getting to an external
Yep.
belief system or bunch of protocols that are whipped together, but ones that have, and this is why I really fell in love with Taoist tonic herbalism, as well as I have with many systems which have become really beautiful little paths in my life, is because it has an ejection. It's like, who cares about the language? You can't. This isn't a club. It ejects you as soon as as the intention is integrated elderhood, or just not being an asshole, or not being, and these ones are like not from a judgmental place. It's just from an intent, which is a lovely intent, not being susceptible to degenerating or disease such that we are an excessive, that we take excessive energy to look after, which isn't a sustainable, isn't sustainable for our family. And also, I don't. Again, I say that because we're all just learning. When it's just a general direction. So when it does happen, it's not like failure or anything to that extent. But that's why I fell in love with Taoist tonic herbalism, because it had Taoism seems just like it's offering a bunch of really practical terminology.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to um that's like harmony, finding harmony, flowing with nature, flowing with the Tao, which is just reality and the way things work, towards a point where it's like there's harmony and we can see more virtuousness, say naturally arising gratitude and love and forgiveness and patience or reverence, rather than we all agree, like an excessive amount of self-righteousness and
Yep.
things that that starve affinity.
Mm.
But and these are very practical. I found that very practical, and it's just like, wow, that's so to that extent, we need to focus on one's jing, which is just the collection of biological functions that we throw a blanket over. Um,
Mm.
just imagine like the things. There's things, and then there's the space between things, and the let's just say like we've got all these beautiful Chinese medicine terms around like the elements and like and patterns, and in the West we've got like biological terminology and
Yep.
um like electromagnetic terminology, so like so on and so on, things that are measurable, and they're the things. So that's like the five elements. We call it the 10,000 things in Taoism.
Yep.
Then when you just take a step back to be like, it's impractical, can't remember it, is the three treasures. We throw a blanket over the body, and we need to get all of that into something and they found three was where they could get to, where we could comprehend something. So you can comprehend the space in between everything that is like bones, longevity, DNA, genetic capacity, um, uh, the constitutional way that you regulate, and regulate patterns through, through the endocrines, and it's all like hardware. Essentially, the sexual function falls into it. Baseline brain function. We throw a big blanket over it, and we go, "That's Jing." You throw all those things out there, and after a while, you start to feel the space between the adrenals and the bones, and your physical body, and the potential for it to not get diseased and degenerate into like your 80s and 90s. And you're like,
Mm.
oh, that's Jing. Now, it takes, because it's so fantastical, it's like from the Far East, it's such an old, the Wu shamans of, of the Tao, before there was Chinese medicine, like brought these things forth. It's like, ooh, it's so fancy. And, it's like, we don't create that. We ride on that in
Mm.
Superfeast. But part of that superhuman pillar is dragging people down into the practicality of, like, where it doesn't let go of the terminology now. And this is just a hyper practical thing that
Yeah.
is Jing. And so, and that's precious. And so you may be going against the grain of institutional thought, the way the media works, so on and so on and so forth. But and in some ways, we're doing a really good job as society at preserving that Jing as well. There's a lot of what's it called, like drug and surgery safety nets, which is like heaps good. Like sometimes like that's like
Yeah.
I've like, as much as it's like been, it's still up for discussion. Like my like in terms of like people need to discuss the ethics and all that kind of stuff. Like, despite all odds, my mum, who had a grade 4 aneurysm, was dead, and said goodbye. Signs of life, going to be a very hard life, but the choice is out of your hands. Skull, yeah, skull off, full paralysis right side, aphasia, can't talk. Been 12 years of hardcore therapy, but she's living independently with support work, and is able to now engage again in her
Right.
cultivation, which was something I was very worried about, that she, and that's the ethics thing of when we keep people alive when then they don't have the capacity
Yeah, I got
to
you. Yeah.
engage, is what I bring up. But
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, powerful woman, great.
Mm.
Really, really sinking your teeth into this life, because life really is precious in that sense. And in the individual souls traveling through this life, it's like imperative that they have every opportunity to continue whatever evolution is, or physical, spiritual evolution is. Well, so that's the Jing. Qi is that treasure of animating the body, and animating and having the vitality and the kinetic energy to move emotions, continue to transform emotions, continue to animate that physical capacity, and create that transmutation of biological functions, and the movement of functions, and the movement throughout the body, and the many ups and downs, and yins to yangs, and so on and so forth, which is, again, like as you throw a blanket, there's many very practical biological functions within, and physiological functions within the chi banner, that you can really get a sense of and be like, oh wow, yeah, that is a precious treasure that I need to have a real long-term relationship, which is just a relationship with yourself. And it's
Yeah.
just a practical, and then Shen being that relationship with that soul emerging in the personality and mannerisms that you have, and the direction that your thoughts go, and the direction, the lighthouse of where your emotions are taking you, and and then rowing towards some type of a destiny, whether it's one that spiritual is relate, or whether it's one that's just like, you don't want to use the word spiritual. It's like, nonetheless, there's somewhere, there's a destination. And so through the Tao, and you don't have to use the word Tao. It should just be like, this is the thing I really appreciate about when I talk to people, is like, you need to respect the roots of where these things came from. And that reverence is why a virtue of mine is reverence. And it always needs to be acknowledged. But hyper practical people that are like, at some point, once you've respected the nature of what we're talking about, so you don't just fully appropriate it into your agenda, it really is yours to take and run. You don't owe anything to it. And you can drop the terminology. You don't owe the wording. The Tao isn't the word Tao. That's literally why they say anyone who defines the Tao isn't the Tao. And so it's, you can take it. That's when, like, women listening to this, all we're talking about is like, say from the instance of like now we've got a that's very lofty blah 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 stuff, and that's what my business comes from. But then we've landed that, as I have to in this world, in a product emerged. I didn't expect I didn't expect to be working with these herbs, but like there are many really beautiful um like service based or product based businesses, and they're giving us access to these things that are a bridge over to something which we sense is
Yeah.
really useful. Like for us, we landed in these Taoist tonic herbs, which for over 2000 years they've been cited as the superior herbs because they are the herbs that live outside of symptom patching. They're good at broad symptoms. It's like, well, sometimes someone's going to tell you, well, you don't need to come to the naturopath or the doctor. Hopefully the doctors say this, they don't. They're like, oh, quickly, we've got you here. Let's get you and get you onto shit. No, they don't. No, only the bad ones do. Or the ignorant ones, I should say. And
Mm.
likewise, it happens in the wellness world. Oh yeah, let's get you onto more supplements and more protocols and stuff. But there are lifestyle, we can tweak with lifestyle, but it takes a long time to really shift your constitution. But of course, like these herbs can work in lifestyle symptoms, but then they tip over to like taken over a long period. This is the ancient text, 2000-year-old text of Shen Nong Ben Sao Jing, where we find these superior herbs for the first time. We take it over a long time. It lightens the body, brightens the eyes, and wards off early onset degeneration and aging. Like these are the types of like this is why these herbs were seen as precious. Like the masters, not just from the Taoist tradition, but all over the place. A lot of the time, for practical reasons, they would move to particular mountains or valleys in different traditions, in mountains in the Chinese and the Chinese tradition, where these herbs existed. There was tea, there was spring water, and there was like Siberian ginseng, schizandra, shago, and eucommia
Mm.
bark.
Yeah.
Like, or not eucommia bark in that region I just said, but or like where there was eucommia bark, where there was like horsetail and gojis in some, or where there was, and they would use it to serve the purpose of their own cultivation and development. Likewise, the emperors and the royals who wanted longevity, maybe sometimes for um,
Yeah. Got you.
resonant intent, sometimes for egoic intent. Nonetheless, like they wanted it for longevity. They wanted it to preserve the body, to cultivate sexual essence, to strengthen the bones with eucommia bark. The female tonics like the angelica root, dongui, romania, hushu
Mm.
wu, the gojis, the schizandra berries, the porias, the asparagus roots. These blood regulating tonics. These tonics which adaptogenic in some sense, but regulating of the warmth, regulating of the kidney's ability to balance yin and yang, which does drill down to very specific um, biological regulatory capacity. They are master plants, and they have been highly prized. And we're still kind of in that period where there's a little bit of like we need to get people cracked out on the benefits of what this can do for like maybe performance.
Mhm.
And this is very responsibly. You speak truthfully, but it's just where you focus because that's what like we've got, which is a bit of what we've got James Newbury, who was like 4 times Australia's fittest man in
Yeah.
CrossFit. I've been sending him herbs for 7 years. We haven't promoted it. He does a story, but I'm not. It wasn't a big enough company to promote it. So he's someone that's like I took cordyceps and astragalus the year that I started winning, and there's
Mm.
like that performance angle. But then he's someone who knows that that's not the point of the
Yes,
herbs fully,
of
and
course.
then
Yeah.
will also communicate. And both are really good because we need to dangle ourselves in like this will solve, these like the herbs in I am Gaia are the ones that we use for regulating menstruation, um, and menstrual pain and blood that coming from a lack of capacity to regulate blood. Likewise, other herbs like eucommia bark, powerful yang tonic, powerful bone healing tonic. I'm think about my bones. Then you lure yourself in, you take them, but why they're so precious is because then you just keep on taking them, and then these little awareness worlds, which
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, this is why we just got to warn people. Remember, like, this is an awareness practice, so you need to shut doors on media so that you
Hmm.
have capacity to let in the little clues that you're getting as you take like a powerful yang tonic, like deer antler velvet, and you
Yeah.
feel, whoa, far out. I feel amazing. I have so much libido. Keep taking it. What happens? Now I'm hot. Okay, now stop taking it, and then go, and then take it again once you've like, engaged with, this or that. Maybe it's, maybe it's emotional. Maybe it's like the way that you're expressing sexual, like, like sexual intention, so on and so forth. And the little things shift. And then we just get these little friends,
Mm.
these little powerful friends that help us cultivate not just awareness, but also genuine refinement of our physiological
Mm.
function. Like you get on the mushrooms, like reishi, lion's mane, chaga, maitake, poria, turkey tail, the extent to which they prime the immune system and train the immune system. And yeah, they hit it, and then you get an activation of self regulation occurring, but you take them long enough, that self regulatory capacity stops being fully reliant on the mushrooms being present.
Yep.
And that's the same for all of these adaptogenic, not always adaptogenic, but these tonic herbs and these medicinal mushrooms, which a lot of the time are the adaptogens, if you need that terminology from the Western herbal sense.
Yeah.
Um, and this is why they're precious. And this is why that land of the dragon and that system of Taoist tonic herbalism just had it all documented over 2000 years and really refined, and now it's open source because and it really suits the Western mind. And so on a large scale, because it's so practical in a sense, even though it connects to the mystical and returns the spirit to intent,
Mm.
around it, it's that I found the match that's sparking. So my desire to, in my source essence, in that fourth pillar, of, when we go to war, I was like, I want to. This is the raw. This is why this isn't a forward facing thing. It's like I want to destroy, um, that part of you, and then I want to eliminate unnecessary disease.
Yeah.
I want it eliminated, and that might be 1,000 generation lineage, which is an intention in my in that evolutionary purpose statement. It's to dramatically reduce disease and degeneration because that's a nice North Star,
Mm.
OKR, like objective and key result thing for people in my team. But it comes from the elimination of unnecessary disease.
Yeah.
And that for 2000 years has been a part of the intention of
Mm.
these herbs. And Taoist herbalism, there's lots of other herbal traditions we should be engaging with, but on a large global scale, this one is open source. Um, it's the tradition of growing and foraging is also being restored in China, and so we are, in a, oh, why is the word, eluding me, in a symbiotic way as we try to bring it to the market, not moving too fast to just appropriate, but
Yeah.
stay slow enough to maintain foraging traditions and connection on the ground to this herbal tradition and what it was about, and then working through their wrinkles to make sure that it's got integrity as we go, as we continue to weave ancient to modern. Um, that's why I keep on going. The more and more I'm like, no, we just need as many legends, men and but women, like on mushrooms and on blood tonics. There are a lot of beautiful herbs out there. These Taoist tonic herbs have such an important part to play in this next bit, especially if we don't have connection to a lineage of herbalism in our area that has the tonics already defined, which, you know, they were kind of known in, like, and well, we're kind of like the Australian system is energetically kind of not available, understandably. And it is there, but even not so much of a focus because it was such a spirit first,
Yeah.
um, uh, um, society. and
Mm.
and the individual journey is so spirit first. Whereas like the from the Tao, it's like build the physical, build the energetic, and then that gives rise to the spiritual capacity, and that's what suits the Western mind. And so getting onto these herbs, you can ignore all the floatiness. You get onto these herbs. It doesn't matter which one, but will help. You can choose. Maybe it's a mushroom formula. Maybe it's the Jing formula. We talked about Jing. You're
Yeah.
exhausted. Get you on some Jing. Maybe it's just getting on these female specific formulas and herbs. Like there's many out there traditionally as well. In the Superfeast world, it's I am Gaia.
Yeah, I've
Um,
been using that for years. Yeah.
and it's kind of at the point with like so much is happening and we're attempting to evolve with such, I mean, furiously on the yang level and and gently and in stillness in the yin level. But at the same time, it's the yin and yang stretch of the world at the moment, and what we're all is it takes so much chi, that we need the masters with us at this point, and these Taoist tonic herbs are the masters of supporting us when we are, especially in societal based, not super village living.
Yeah.
These really rose up as as civilization was starting to emerge. It's like we need to structure this and get this out there ASAP and scale this to support everybody. And so that's why it's like we get on them. There's principles, of course. There's
Yeah.
consistency. We need to find a way to get it consistent. Maybe it's a capsule in the beginning of a formula. Maybe you find a way, you whack it into a smoothie. Eventually, maybe you just end up finding your way to have a little hot chocolate or hot tonic or add it to a coffee. Or maybe you're
Mhm.
just making a pure little tonic yourself. Maybe it's weaving into a matcha. Whatever it is, there's ways to do it. Maybe you're a mum that says, like, I have no time. You get a jar of Mason's mushrooms, 8 mushrooms, you bang it into spag bowls. You bang it into minestrones and you just make sure the kids get it that way. And then you kind of like forget and you like just like eating leftover minestrone knowing that you're getting your mushrooms that way, and then you just bang half a teaspoon in your mouth as well of the mushroom straight whatever. There's no real consistency. Then it comes down to just dosage, which is just you just don't be scared of these herbs. This is a long term thing,
Yeah.
and
Thanks for saying that. Yeah.
yeah, like you can start small, keep on starting small. If you're like, oh, I'm not feeling anything, I really need to feel something, ramp that dose up. Go and have a
Mm.
go. The worst that happens is you go like you have to go hard. But you're like your body might be like, whoa, gosh, that's a lot of processing to
Yeah.
for because the herbs all right, I won't do so much. You might have an afternoon where you have to lie down and you go, like what happened with my, who's our customer relations guy, like our rep, basically started in the warehouse. He just came in and just did like two big, like a tablespoon of deer antler velvet, and it shorted him. And this is a guy. He's an absolute, like me, an absolute tripper. Plant medicines galore, able to mega dose on many things. He goes, cool. He learned his, but
Yeah.
and time of day again in the beginning, just whatever, morning, night, leave the jars out. If you're not doing it through Superfeast and you're doing it with other brands, or you're doing it yourself, if you like I grow Gynostema, beautiful adaptogenic leaf that comes off of a creeper vine. Um and like but if it's not out, if it's not in my ritual, if it's not out, in front of me, I don't stay consistent. And then I got to pick a dosage and kind of time of day. That's that second principle. Um
Yeah.
that third principle is just picking perfectly. So that takes, in the beginning, you just go with your mind. I need this. Mason's mushrooms gives me, or that gives me this, that gives me this. But eventually you'll tune into the heart perception and you'll start to get a combination of the sense. Like
Yeah.
I want to move in that direction. That one keeps on pointing out at me. Go in that
Yes.
direction.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fourth is finding a way to connect to trusting it. So you don't have to consciously try, do I really want to be taking this? You need to subconsciously, if you're scientifically driven, then you're going to have to connect to, like, say something. We've got a 70-page literature review on the mushrooms and how they work and how extraction occurs and how they biologically work and so on and so forth. We've got an internal mushroom researcher and scientist. He's also setting up our testing lab. That sometimes subconsciously makes people go, okay, cool. I love all your crazy bullshit about spirituality and Tao, but I just really needed to know that. And we go, oh, and there's like, of course, yeah. Here's the, there's data sets and so on and so forth, and all of these adaptogenic herbs. And they go, oh, okay, great. Some people need to know that I own 100% of the company, and they go, okay, great. That's all I need. I just need to know that it's a tripper who runs it. That's that fourth one of trust. Sometimes it'd be like, I'm connected to the lineage of Tao, and like that's all I need to know, that it's not his idea, that this is a part of a lineage, and he's not making this up. That this is something that's time tested and proven, and that it's not been appropriated. That's like whatever it is that gets you trusting it subconsciously. You need to find that and resolve it for and see if it's there. And maybe it's not there. Then that's okay. Then it's like, all right, well, you just won't get a long-term practice if that's the case, which is fine. It'll fall off really quick. But they're the four principles of tonic herbalism, and then yeah, we're here to protect the Jing, stop ourselves aging prematurely, degenerating. That's the Jing. Make sure the libido stays high, bone health stays good, baseline brain function's good. Chi is in order, making sure the body stays light, has the ability to keep on processing, the emotions, moving the emotions, because it takes a lot of energy to, oh, I'm resentful again, and I gotta find another way to do it, or, oh my God, there's another, like right now, there's a big shedding of snake skin this year and moving into the year of the horse, but it's happening now. And if you don't shed now, you're going to miss the train for the horse. And if you don't have the chi, you might have the potential, but if you don't have the animation and the electricity, and the rhythm to actually, one, recognize it, that takes a lot of chi to recognize, and two, then go, fuck, I got to do this again. There's more transmutation. There's more, like, you're not light enough to keep on flowing and be like, ah, oh, cool, bang, up we go again. Yeah, I know how to shed. Bang, 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 bang. I can have a hard conversation. Likewise, it's just digestive capacity, respiratory capacity, surface immune ability. So we take chi herbs like the astragalus, like the chi formula. There's chi herbs in like the I'm Gaia formula, and the mushrooms are chi herbs in their own sense as well to protect that. And then we take shen herbs and like reishi and a bizia flower, polygala, to protect that diamond of the inner workings of the mind, and then the spirit, and that part of us which is like that infinite part just trying to move. We're trying to hold this diamond in this meat suit and deliver it somewhere in space and time at the end of our lives, and then I don't know what happens when we die, but we got to protect that, and that's why we take the herbs to protect the shen, that individual refinement of wisdom. We need strong bones, and then we need strong surface immunity and digestive function for anything, if not for anything, just to make sure that we're in like really individuated and really like refined in our own uniqueness, and don't have just speak in mannerisms, and don't just repeat what fucking John Laws used to say on the radio, or what, like, I read, Oprah's book club is, and these things aren't bad, but like, oh, now this is the way I think now, and this is how, like, that's like, these are all well and good, but we really love super refined elders who are just like unshakable, and you can't find cracks in them, because it's like, oh, this isn't a construct of a belief system. This has come from a place of personal perception and blood, sweat, and tears, and laughter and joy. Like, that's the point of these tonic herbs. And likewise, everything else. Likewise, our exercise, our holistic exercise, and our well-rounded meditation. And that's why it's complex with tonic herbalism. It's like, there's blood tonics and Jing tonics and Yin Jing and Yang Jing, and there's this chi, and there's actually four classifications of chi. And then did you know that blood follows chi, but there's blood moving and there's blood building. We've simplified it enough just so it's not like you just need mushrooms. It's like, that's just not true. When you're a smart, whether it's IQ or EQ or SQ, spiritual, like spiritual side of thing, whatever it is, we're all got our source, and that source is worth respecting and laying out, that we need to build a world to not, rather than just maybe with good intentions, just appropriating one. Like, we're only going to do this approach to meditation, which is like kind of like, I think about, what's it called? The Vedic meditation or whatever it is. It's like, lovely. Okay. Where's the world of it? you know, like, oh, I just to survive in this world, I just have to do 20 minutes a day twice. It's like, okay, let's go back to the roots of that. And it's like, oh, well, that's not relevant. We're just trying to support people to get on with their lives. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's not a tripper who's developed that. You know what I mean? Like that's like, and that's fine. So it's like we want to, you know, you go and find a tripper. They're essentially trying to find a way to scale something from its root source and a source idea, which isn't my like I this isn't my idea. This is an idea that's there emerging from the collective man. Maybe this works as an idea that will help us as a population through that ancient intent of herbalism and find a way to weave it into this modern world. That's what trippers are doing in business. And that's why I'm also really passionate on stopping what I call born again executives who do one ayahuasca journey or go and do one Vipassana who are like, oh, yeah, no, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like super spiritual as well. It's like, hey, I don't know how you do your playbook. I'm not good enough to do your playbook in scaling businesses and, you know, doing that kind of thing. You don't have my skill set in really weird. It's like, no, 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 I get it, I get it. And so there's a lot of Tripper founders getting you know, the who are getting real susceptible. They're getting really loved up and taken advantage of. And sometimes not. Sometimes it's just like clean. I'm actually done with that journey and I'm willing to like cash out or I don't mind anymore. But a lot of the time, that's not what's happening as well. They go like, oh my God, no, they say, you know, they're really spiritual as well. And they're going to be a really good like steward and custodian for it. And it's just that the tripper was the founder was not resourced, which I know very well. It's very like I've gone through my depressive bouts where I'm just like I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in a rock and a hard place and don't know how to do it. And but won't I can't. We'll just get rid of it. I can't. You don't understand. This is like a child. You can't do that. It's not a child. It's very different. Right? But it's like a good approximation in. And so these types of yes, and then it's not. I think it's like it's cool. It's like, and these are the types of little organizations that you kind of like. It's like you keep your eye out for them, and you can continue to weave with them. And as long as we've got the proper models, we can see that. I know people check in with Superfeast every like 3 years sometimes, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's a bit different." And you know, I talk a lot to founders, going, "Be the one that breaks it and compromises." Even though it's an external compromise that you thought was the thing that was like showing that you were in integrity and so on and so forth. And then you go, actually, that external thing is blocking me really looking into the soul of my organization and blowing it out there into the market. And you'll have team members who are like, you know, God bless them, who are like real grassroots. You'd be like, no, like it's like we're a company that's like, you know, here for climate change or something. And you're like, well, we're aware of it, but have you been into the source essence of the organization? Climate change doesn't get mentioned once, and it's like, and then you've got an appropriation of a source essence occurring, and that's what you know. That's the self destruction that real non in I don't want to say non intelligent, but like non sustainable activism and non integrated activism. That's and so there's that. That's the danger for trippers at the time. So it's an inside out. And then trippers have a lot of mummy and daddy issues that come. And so they have a hard time standing up to the friends and family, even though you don't have family in a fucking business. They are literally not your family. It's a beautiful team. It's a beautiful organization. You're drawn together as souls to animate and bring to life this purpose. And that is special. You don't have to belittle family. That deserves its own new terminology, whatever you want to call it. Family is literally your family. And so that's where founders really curb and get, and then likewise, that's like where it starts as you start to grow and integrate models to take your beautiful soul and build a castle around it, the organization, and pierce it out there and do real scallywag things and really change the market, and do really left field things as well. It's really cool. And then likewise, it's these born again executives that swoop in and be like, "Oh, there's some essence," and they don't know subconsciously. They just they need the gooey essence, but they don't know. Not a lot of them. There are some real absolute weapons who know how to steward the founder in sensing the soul of the organization and bringing that to the market. But that's not what normally happens with these investor executives and these big VC venture capitalist people who I get emails from all the time. They just want the gooey center and they want to latch on to the head and stomach of that organization, go and suck it out and pop that founder up as like, no, we're just going to really like elevate you and what you do. And then they just take all justification branding. They leave the soul essence behind, and then they just put the founder up, and then they just scale into oblivion, and little micro decisions start going against
Yeah.
the imprint. And that really damages a founder, and they become quite crusty and ossified, and what I kind of coming up with what I call like fancy excuses of why this was the right thing to do. And that's when it's time to be like, hey, I kind of like stumbled there. And that was maybe, and it's good to sense, I'm really proud of it and had no other way of going about it, but it was a mistake, I would say,
Yeah.
in retrospect. And so, yeah, I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I guess that's kind of also just like for people listening, like it's not about for just just for it's like people come back into Superfeast and be like, okay, Superfeast is still on. I don't, oh, what's going on there? That's changed. Then they go, no, Mason's changed the way he markets in order to maintain the essence, and so on, and so it's good to break it yourself, as other people will bring the investor in to break it, and then not realize that they've actually broken off the strategic emergence from the soul of the organization, which makes silly decisions. And then down the track, everyone's like, "Oh, that was brilliant! Your brand has got such a strong story and so differentiated." It's like, yeah, after real shitty strategic decisions that everyone was like, "That is so stupid." And so yeah, from that's where these herbs come from. That's the business that that's what Superfeed, where it's coming from, and who you're interacting with. We're getting onto these herbs, and then you can always call Superfeast. Bryony, just as I was coming in, Bryony is in customer services on the phone with someone for like 10 minutes, just chatting them through it. Like we walk with you through your
Yeah.
tonic herbal journey. You've got podcasts, you've got interaction, we've got little booklets, and just
Mm.
if I just really do encourage you just to see where you can either engage the terminology fully and the system fully, or just find
Mm.
if there's a resonance snippet that just fits as a puzzle piece. And quite often it could just be your head will be full. Don't have to worry, we're not going to try and jam everything down your throat. One little puzzle piece that's got a
Mm.
little bit of essence behind it. Why, it's and it could, it can really, you're changing your life, you're doing it, but this could really help hasten that changing as whether as you cultivate some more jing or immune capacity, and then you reprogram. You're
Mm.
like, that's right, I'm driving this. I'm the one in control here. I'm not just a part of
Yeah.
some institutional dictation. And that's what happens. That sovereignty, that reality of sovereignty emerges again. And then over a few years of taking the herbs, and you engage in a more well-rounded physical practice, or maybe you're already doing that and the herbs just elevate everything that you're
Yeah.
doing and there's no new distinction. That's I really encourage everyone listening to really lean in and remember, just be consistent for a little bit, and then play around with the dose, go up,
Mm.
and yeah, it's I think it's everyone. I can feel there's a few people listening who will have a lot of transformational fun with it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I just love like the way that you've brought this information through, because what I sense is, and at least this is what I'm feeling as I'm hearing you, is that the way you are offering for us to engage with these herbal tonics is so interruptive to the way that we might be doing that, in a way where you've said this sort of in your own way before, but like grabbing something as a way to fix something, or grabbing something as a way to, you know, fix a symptom or whatever, right?
Mm,
What you're offering feels like, to me, it feels like just a deeper layer, a deeper radical self-responsibility. You're engaging with these medicines, and it's not just something you're grabbing to just fix something, or a quick fix, which I sense is, I don't know, I know my community, they value sovereignty, they value body autonomy. We value and see our bodies as these deeply wise and intelligent vessels, and we're done with the quick fixes. We're done with that, And so the way you're offering is so special. It feels very sacred. It's very much like when you engage with these medicines, there's a deepening that's happening here. And you spoke about the ways it sort of like opens and unlocks these little worlds within you and these little places, and it can actually, it feels evocative, like it can actually evoke these deeper understandings, awarenesses of self. And that is, I don't hear that being spoken about very often. It's more about those very physical symptoms of fatigue, stress, IBS, sleep disturbances, like all of these things, which, valid and fair. But then, like, what you're actually speaking into is something far deeper. It's like, let's actually use these as a way to deepen with ourselves and our bodies, and to trust that innate wisdom and to come closer to that experience. And I love that because I just don't hear that being spoken about anywhere. And I feel like people listening will get that, and they'll be like, yes, like this is interruptive to that broader system of just grabbing things, just getting quick fixes, just trying to make ourselves feel better instead of actually doing and applying the genuine actual work within yourself to
Mm.
allow the medicine to actually, evoke something, transform something, shift something. This is really special. I love the way you've spoken into that. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe, yeah, great summary. And yeah, thanks for seeing it. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun.
you're
I mean,
welcome.
like I go very grandeur, people have been but that's,
Awesome.
yeah, I mean I think it's very important to like lay it on the table. And so that, yeah, I'm glad yeah, and hopefully everyone appreciates it, and hopefully everyone can at the same time be like, all right, what do I do? It's like, you're tired, take some Jing. If you just want
Yeah.
to connect to that woman, that female regulation function, I am Gaia.
Yeah.
If it's just, I just want to focus on immunity, Mason's mushrooms.
Yeah.
If you maybe you just want to you want some really cracking ashwagandha, and we've got that in capsules. There's that as well. Just so
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
totally. And that's what I was going to try and end with was
knows.
you spoke about Jing, Qi, and Shen,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was curious about how, and I don't mean to be sort of to oversimplify this or to reduce
Oh
it.
no, it's good. We need to simplify and
Yeah,
converge
but
now. Yeah, we need
but
to converge
how,
now.
like, just how do each of these, like, how does Jing, how does Qi, how does Shen express through someone if it is, say, and I don't know if the terminology is right, so you can totally bring your flavor in, but like if it's, say, out of balance or if it's not in
Mm.
harmony, like how would one know that they need to support Jing, Qi, Shen?
Jingle feel like a lot of physical stress, a lack of capacity to adapt to physical stress and resolve physical stress. A lot of real built-in fatigue, and but like real, not just fatigue. Like, I like being specific with these terms. If you're just kind of getting to the end of the day, and it's hard to adjust from work to home. It's like a little lack of capacity to change the way you're thinking, and it's a little bit frustrating, and your emotions come up again. You're not exhausted. That's not Jing, that's Qi deficiency. That's a different type of fatigue. And so there's like a Qi tonic is really, really lovely there. And it doesn't matter really which you take, they'll all work in the right direction because they're all working on your body. But Jing's when you're exhausted and you're really having the hard time even feeling like you've got even the potential to get up and energize yourself. So it'll feel really restorative. The Chi tonics, the Chi blend, you feel it really does work on the digestion, and distension and any bloating, and increasing that strength because that's where we derive our Chi. Likewise, it is a lung tonic. So you'll feel just a little bit of that, it's real chop wood carry water. So it's like it's a real, you got to keep on working on it. It's like you got to keep on eating, you got to keep on getting sun, you got to keep on, taking chi herbs, and that's just how it. But they'll increase up until a certain point, and then you can kind of drop them. But you need to stay consistent in the beginning, and that just to get that vitality. And Shen is really like, it's kind of, you just feel like purpose. I don't know where I'm going. My heart's too heavy. There's grieving. I don't even know where to direct myself in terms of the direction I'm going. Can't go into a deep comprehension in meditation. I can't stop the monkey mind thinking even when I'm walking through nature. That'd be really lovely Shen tonic time, at that point. And there's real specific biological actions of the herbs that would go like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense, that the mental, like that, like neurologically, that would lead to like a calmer state of parasympathetic as well. So it doesn't, if you're not wanting to think hyper spiritually, then that's how you relate to it. But that's the Shen blend there.
Yeah, and all of those blends are available on the Superfeast website.
Yeah, and you can go get the three. Oh, actually, we're in like a next week. Days next week. Yeah. Just trying to think of, yeah, well, you can get the three treasures bundle, which is really nice, Jing Qi Shen, um, or a starter pack, which is just Jing and Mason's mushrooms, which is a really lovely place for people to start as well. And that might just be like, take the choice out of it. Or go and have a big run around and go like, which one does my heart want? And you'd be like, you Komi bark or Shaga, what the heck is that? But I just
Yeah.
felt it. I saw it and I just wanted it. It's like, all right, buy that. Both are good.
I'm guilty of doing that. Like I remember, I think it might have been last year when you did a big sale. I think I bought like 6 or 7 different jars, and I was just like, that sounds good. That sounds good. Like this feels good. And you're speaking about this earlier about just like these different sort of principles, and I feel like I'm at that point. Like I deeply trust the medicine. I deeply trust the dosage. And now I just sense like I can just go to my shelf and I can just like look at the jars and just feel into which one it is that's going to support me, in the
Mm.
moment. And I think
I love
that's
it.
a testament to just what you were speaking into before, is just how it's a journey. It's a journey like anything. It's if you haven't done it before, there's going to be a lot of firsts, and it just requires just a little bit of trust in self, and just allow yourself to just figure it out, and yeah, learn as you go, and just develop and cultivate that deeper
Mm.
trust and in your knowing, which is what I'm all about. So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with? Anything you would like to offer into the space? Anything at all?
Um, I just, just very basic. I mean, everything kind of like the yin yang gets very handy in that there's going to be an oscillation between your capacity for how you approach it. One might be, I just need conservative. I just need to like pick a couple of things with like real intention, like real yin, really
Mm.
consolidating. I don't need any more. I just need it to support what's going on right now, and yeah, lean into that. Likewise, if it's if it's a yang phase, and you're like, I just want to go and like try everything, and I want this to be like evolutionary. I don't want it to support what's been. I'm letting go of what's been. I'm going up for what's next. It's just a useful framework, and just remember. And sometimes both are occurring, and that's in the actual point of the Tao. Is like being able to hold yin and hold yang intent, and then comprehend what what's within the calmness and quietness between them, and then that's when you can make really clear decisions in towards your destiny. And yeah, again, that can be drilled down and be made very practical. That can happen in a moment, holding the two opposing ideas of, I do want to evolve, but I just want to do this. Just like go, we can hold them both, and then make a decision in the middle of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's stunning. I love that. Thank you.
I
Amazing.
know.
And we will link up everything in the show notes, your website, your Instagram, and anything else, your podcast. You have an amazing podcast. I was listening to your recent episode with Clarissa Gunawin about dreaming. That was really amazing. So we'll link that up, and yeah, just make sure everyone has what they need to connect and engage with this beautiful medicine. And yeah, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for taking the time.
Incredible. Thank you so much.